Hello, I'm Donnie Jameson, and today we are going to stuff a Southern Maryland stuffed ham. This is a couple steps to this process. We're doing day one right now. So day one is us preparing the greens. It is Sunday before Thanksgiving, and I usually prepare my greens either on Sunday and Monday. So I kind of look at it as a 3-day process. We're going to prepare our greens, then we're going to stuff and cook our ham, and then the third part will be slicing our ham on Thanksgiving morning or the day before Thanksgiving. So let's go over the recipe for our greens. We're going to start with, so let me back up. I am cooking a 20-pound corned ham, okay? This is my ham here. I don't know if you can read the numbers, but it says 22.12 pounds, paid $3.19 a pound, total $70.56. So my ham was deboned. I have the bone and some of the, I guess, fat you would call it, the outer rind. I'm going to use some of that to go in the big pot over there. Not all of it, but some of that just to help season my greens. So when I start slicing this stuff up, we'll get the pot of water going and get that starting to cook a little bit. So for the greens, we're going to need 2 heads of cabbage, 2 heads of celery, roughly 4 pounds of kale. I got 2 bags, but that grocery bag and this bag, so that's our kale. 4 pounds of watercress. This is my watercress. I got it from a produce company. So there's 4 pounds of watercress. And all these greens are going to get chopped up, okay? I got 2 bunches of spring onions and 8 large onions. So that'll be all my greens. I'm going to chop them up, and then we'll go over the seasonings for them next. I have them all back here. They're kind of behind that bag of kale. But we'll lay that out after I get them chopped up. We'll go over the seasonings and the steps to pull this all together. So I will pick up with you in an hour or so after I have all the greens chopped up and my water pot boiling, okay? Thank you. All right, we're back. So we did all the chopping. You don't have to chop it, like the kale and stuff doesn't have to be super fine. I bought a new kale this year and it's really curly, which gave it some volume. So it looks like I got a lot of kale, but it's not as quite because it's so curly, it's not very flat, and it's just taking up a lot of space. Your celery and onions, you know, it doesn't have to be like finely diced, but you know, it should be, you know, 1/4 inch. All right, if you pick kale, like this just to show you if you're cooking kale, it's got this big stalk. You don't want that in your food. It's going to make your ham very stemmy, your stuffing. So if you buy kale and you get these big stalks like this, strip it down, right? I don't need it because I got plenty. But you know, again, take your fingers, strip it down, and then you can cut this up and use it. Don't put those big stems in your pot. So my pot back there, it's boiling. I had it I had it filled up about 6 inches from the top. I added 3 or 4 tablespoons of that Crystal Diamond kosher salt. I'll show you that in a little bit. So what we're going to do is just get all this dumped in. I may have to do it in 2 batches, I'm not sure. And you're just blanching these. They don't need to, you know, cook for an hour. You know, 5-10 minutes. You know, just really all I'm going to do is bring this pot back to a boil after I put all these greens in it. So let me start dumping these in and we'll see what we have. One of the reasons I do this in the barn, there's a couple of reasons. It's easy to clean up. I just use my leaf blower. And then the second reason is when you cut all these onions, if you do that inside, it can be very overpowering. So out here, it doesn't bother you so much. So I did put that big piece of fat back that came off the ham and the bone. I let that boiled in that pot for about 20 minutes. I pulled the fat out, but I still have the bone in there. I'm going to stop it there, and when it's blanched, I will resume. Okay, we're back. So at this point, I'm parboiled, not parboiled, but I blanched the vegetables. They are done. I'm going to turn the flame off, and this is just something I always do to all my greens. I use baking soda, and you see I don't have any flame on it. Give it a good stir, and then when I add this, it just helps really bring it all to the top. I add a couple tablespoons, and then it'll bring all your greens back up and stir that in. It really helps any of your seasoning, your stock that you put in there. Like this, I have the ham bone. Just helps everything stick to your greens. Brings your greens to the top so it's easy to scoop them out. So at this point, I am going to get these all drained. And once I have them all drained, I'll show you the next step. All right, let's go over the next step. I pulled everything. I have all my greens, got a big colander full. And usually when I make my ham, I want this colander full. That's usually perfect for me for a big 20+ pound ham. This is definitely going to compact down as it drains. It's still a little hot, especially down in it, but there's a lot of liquid in it. You have to get rid of that liquid. We can't just mix our seasonings, put it all together. Because as it drains, that water is going to take our seasonings with it, and we'll have a bland ham. So just leave your seasons alone. Get your greens really drained. And what I do is I actually squeeze it out. See how much liquid's in here? Right? You have to get that liquid out. So I'll go through it at least twice and just hand squeeze it. And that'll get a lot of it out. This is still really hot, so it's too hot for me to do right now. I'm gonna let it sit for another 20 minutes or so. And yeah, she's really hot down in there. And just try to get that liquid out. And so when I pick back up with you, I will have at least one, maybe two rounds where I've gone through this entire bucket or colander, squeezed everything out, and we should be ready for seasoning. So it'll probably be dark by the time we get there. I'm gonna let this cool a little bit because it's still good and hot. All right, but we're getting there. Making your dressing is always, like, that's the hardest part. I find if you try to do it all in one day, number one, when you go to stuff your ham, or to stuff the ham part of it, your dressing's hot, you're burning your fingers, it's not drained well enough, and you got a bland ham. Do it a day ahead of time, get it good and drained, then get it seasoned, and then you can let it refrigerate overnight. It'll be nice and cold, and then when you go to stuff your ham, your greens will be nice and dry, and it'll go together so much better than if you just try to season this from here and get it in the ham. You'd have a mess on your hands. So yeah, I recommend you always do your greens a day ahead of time. And everybody I know who stuffs ham, that's how way my family's always done it. This is kind of the Jameson family recipe that we do. And I didn't go over all of this with you, but when I do my greens, like the big three, the kale, the watercress, and the cabbage, I do about a third each, right? 2 big heads, usually about 8 pounds or so. It really gets me this colander full, and that's what I shoot for. Roughly a third kale, a third watercress, third cabbage. If you can't find watercress, do a 50-50 kale and cabbage. Your ham will be just fine. It'll still be really good. Further down St. Mary's County, they do cabbage hams. I don't care much for them. It's a stuffed ham. It's still good, but I always just thought they were missing something, But some people like just 75, 100% cabbage. Some people will do 75% cabbage, 25% ham. Charles County is where my family was from. Charles County always added watercress to their hams, and that's the way I do it. That's the way I like it. But if you don't want watercress, just do a 50-50 ham. It'll turn out wonderful. So, as you can see, I'm getting some moisture out as I press down. I got an inch of water at the bottom of this pot here. So, I'm going to break it here, and I'll pick up, probably be another hour or so, and probably be dark outside. But we'll get through this. All right, I'm back. I just want to give you 30 seconds or so. I haven't squeezed it all out. It's cooled down some. It's about 20 minutes after I turned it off. Still got a little bit to go. I might have rushed through it a little bit, but just give you an idea of, what I'm going to do. Squeeze it in the tub, pop it in there. And I'm just going to do this a few times. It might take me twice, 2 or 3 times to get up. Just keep going through it, getting that liquid out. As I get that hot water out of there, it's going to cool off too. So that's what I'm going to do, and I will pick back up when I'm done. All right, we're at our last section for the day. We are going to mix the spices together, and then we're going to take our greens, mix them all together, and put it up for the night, put it in the refrigerator. So let's go over our seasonings. First one, I usually buy them in the small containers like this. They're usually about 1.5 ounces. This year I found a bigger one. So this is a 3-ounce box of mustard seed. So you need 3 ounces of mustard seed. Dump that in. Next one, 3 tablespoons of red pepper flakes. So all the measurements are in tablespoons. So I have one here. I am going to actually do a blend of red pepper flakes. We made my son dries some out and makes some of his own. So I'm going to use 1.5 of his, and then I use kind of like the Italian one that you would put on like a pizza, right? Those type of red pepper flakes. So this is a McCormick blend. So I'll use a total of 3 ounces. If you want your ham hotter, add more. It won't hurt it. All right, next one. 2 tablespoons of ground red pepper, cayenne pepper. I don't know if I got a full 2 tablespoons here. There's 1. Oh yeah, we got 2, maybe a little extra, whatever. There's 2. All right, the next one. 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. So I like this Diamond Crystal. I use this a lot on anything that needs salt. This is a really good salt to use. You buy it on Amazon. What I like about it is it's not extremely salty, if it makes sense. It's like it gives you the benefits of cooking with salt, but just not so salty. So we use it in our pasta, a lot of stuff that we do. We use that instead of like iodine salt. All right, so you need 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. Next one, 2 tablespoons of seasoned salt, like a Lawry's. You could do a seasonal. I would use Lawry's. 1, 2. Okay. What's the next one? 3 tablespoons of coarse black pepper. 3 tablespoons. Coarse. I like the big pepper. And you don't have to be perfect on these. You just get a good heaping tablespoon. A little extra spice isn't going to hurt anything here. The worst thing you want is a bland ham. All right, the next one, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. So, if you want it spicier, add some more. 1, 2. So, this is a 20-pound ham. If you're just doing like a 10-pound, like one of the shanks, like cut the greens in half and cut your spices in half. Okay. Last one, 1 box of celery seed. These are like 1 ounce containers, so this is perfect. The whole thing right in there. And I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the pepper flakes. I like them in mine. And go ahead and give it a good mix. You want all your seasonings, try to mix them together. Put it in my bowl, see if I spill any. They're already in here. All right. They're ready. So let's grab our greens. I'm gonna put my gloves on. Hopefully this video doesn't get too long. I did one last year. I filmed it. So if you see some jumping around, that something looks a little different. Maybe if I didn't get something right, I might have added some video from one I did last year. It was just way too long. So I was trying to do it this year more compressed. And I'm also trying to do it where it's just like one big take. I just glue them all together and post them up there. I'm not a big YouTuber, and I ain't that great at doing these videos, but we'll make it work. All right, so this has been run through. If you remember, I was probably piled up here when I drained it, and it's down right to the first line. So that's exactly what I need to stuff my 20-pound ham. This is probably my 25th or 30th. I don't know how many I've done. I've done a bunch of them. So I know just from doing it what I need. Get this broke up. put our seasonings in. Good. So let's talk about this, right? And I will include this recipe somewhere in the video or make a link so that you can get to it. But I pretty much read everything off to you as well. When you mix this together, right? Taste it. If this is bland, your ham is going to be bland. Okay? When you taste this, it should be too hot and too salty. If it's like just perfect, you don't have enough seasoning in it. It should be too hot, too salty. You got 20-pound ham to season. You need enough seasoning to go in. Like for me, it's 20-pound ham. If you did a 10-pound, but you need enough seasoning to season that ham. So just tasting this, it shouldn't be perfect. You should be like, oh my, that's too hot, or oh, that's too salty. But it's not. It's going to be perfect. Okay. So don't worry about how it tastes, other than you shouldn't like it. It should be too hot, too salty. But when you get it all together, it'll be perfect. So I'm gonna mix my ham. I'm gonna probably stuff it tomorrow morning. We'll video that. And yeah, the other important part of your ham is it needs at least a day to sit in the refrigerator and just rest. You know, don't pull it and carve it. You know, get your ham, get it cooled down, put it in the refrigerator, let it sit for 24 hours. And that's when all these flavors from the spice starts to melt together and all comes together into, you know, the flavors all marry together and unify and give you that really good Southern Maryland, you know, stuffed ham, St. Mary's stuffed ham, or Charles County stuffed ham, whichever you're trying to make. Mine's a little bit of a blend of all of it, I think. I grew up in Charles County. I married a St. Mary's County girl. So I do a third of each. But I always put watercress in my ham because that's the way I grew up with them, and that's the way I like them. So a lot of people don't put watercress, and that's fine too. All right, let's see what it tastes like. Let's get a little piece in here. It's hot and salty. It's good. It'll be good. But ooh, yeah, she's hot. Oh. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, that got a little bit of a second bite. Yeah, it's burning. It's good and hot. This is going to be a really good ham. I can't wait to have this come together. But just remember, just because it's hot here, it will not be burning your ham's not going to be on fire that no one can enjoy the ham because it's too hot. It will not be that way. When you put that in that big pot of water, all that water is going to go through it, and these spices just sometimes it just seem like it just go away. Like, where did it go? You know, that water just dissolves them, or I don't know what the right word is for it, but it'll just take those spices and just dilute them, right? Maybe. And so it won't be too salty. It won't be too hot when you go to eat it. So I'm going to take this, transfer it back into my colander. And that's the good part of why we spent so much time getting all that liquid out of these. We don't want this draining overnight in our colander and just taking all of our spice out away from it. I did that when I first did my first few hams. You know, it was a big learning curve that I'm giving you 25 years experience right in one video. You know, I did that, and my hams were a little under seasoned, and it's because I didn't squeeze them out. I shortcut it and just didn't know. But yeah, look at it. This will level this off. And I don't have water squeezing out at all. Take a plate, put on it, and we're going to stick, might get that clean bowl, and we're going to put that in the refrigerator. And maybe I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning today's Sunday, so tomorrow will be Monday, or I don't know, I got a busy work schedule. It might not be till Tuesday, but YouTube time. It'll be like 30 seconds from now. Enjoy. Morning. Monday morning. We're gonna stuff a ham. Have the ham laid out, pot of water. It's just about boiling. Looking at this ham right here. This is the big cavity, runs all the way through it. That's from where they, it's a deboned ham. That's where they remove the bone. This is the bottom of the ham. Flip it over. That nice side there would be the, what I would call the top of the ham. When we stuff the ham, I try to lay it out so you know your bones running across here. We're going to put our slits in this way, right? When we go to stuff it, and when we carve our ham, we're going to carve it this way. So we'll slice this way, and I'll show you when we stuff it. We'll pack in the greens. When it's all cooked, we carve it this way, and we get a nice cross cut of our stuffing, okay? So let's go ahead and get the ham in the pot of water. The first part, you know, you cook your ham for 15 minutes for every pound, okay? I'm going to parboil this for 30-45 minutes. Basically enough to get the pot back to water, get the ham just a little bit warmer. And you subtract your parboil time off of your cooking time, okay? Take this, drop it in my steamer basket. Okay, think that's good. Put the lid on. And I'm just gonna let that go for about 45 minutes. And we will pick this back up and start stuffing. All right, let's go ahead and start stuffing. I have the ham. This is a boneless, like I said. I normally don't parboil my boneless hams, but mine was a little frozen this morning on the inside, so I just did about 30 minutes. If you're doing one with the bone in, you definitely want to parboil it. You know, 30, 45 minutes, maybe even up to an hour. But for a boneless, you don't need to. But if you're a little frozen, you know, it's not gonna hurt it either way. But normally I don't for a boneless. But this one says it was a little frozen, and I did a day earlier. I had decided to parboil it a little bit. So I always start on the bottom of my ham. So this is the top with the nice, the fat side, right? We'll pack everything on top, the leftover greens. So you want to keep track of our top. So we'll start on the bottom. When we go to carve this, we either start on this side or this side, depending on how we lay it out. I don't know yet. Figure that out the day I carve it. I usually probably start on this flat end here. So when we carve it, we're going to carve this way, right? Nice slices this way. So we want to run our slices to stuff the ham across. Okay, so we're going to take, and we're not going all the way through. We want about 2 or 3 inches. You're just kind of getting down to the bone cavity. And we're going to put some in here. Get them. This got, you know, with a bone, it has a big hole right here. So we'll put some in here. We're going to pile greens in there. We'll come this side, we'll get from the other side. You want to stagger your, kind of like, I call them joints, right? You don't want to make one long continuous slice, or your ham's going to fall out. So make sure you stagger them. And you know, I'm kind of sticking my fingers down. I can get a little one in there. I can reach almost into the cavity. This is a little thin here, so I don't want to get too much. I don't want to cut my ham open across the top. So I'll leave there. And that should be pretty good bit for this bottom here. All right, and all you're gonna do, start at one side, just, you know, I get like a, not a too big, you know, a couple fingerfuls. And just start pushing it in. And get all those greens up inside, push them down to the cavity. When we flip this ham over, it's a big cavity, and it's gonna feel like we're just shoving greens in and like, where's it going? But it's gonna take a lot, and this ham is gonna swell up with it. So let's get a little bit in each of these. You can put some of it down in the cavity now, start filling it. Come in on this side. So I can really start to smell, you know, especially since I parboiled it, the ham, the juices, you really start to get that smell. But you know, remember, if you're doing a boneless like I did, you don't have to parboil it. You don't need to take that extra step by any means. It is not required, and I usually don't do it. The only reason I did it today is I was a little frozen, not too much, but I didn't want it to be a little icy in there. I wanted all that cleared out. I bought my ham about 2 weeks ago, and they had given it to me, and I got it from Gray's Brother, which is over in Indian Head, and they had they deboned it for me and packed it all up and had it all ready, and they had put it in the freezer. I don't think it would have safely kept if I tried to not freeze it. So you don't be afraid to freeze your hams when you get them. You know, if you wait too late, you might not find a ham. Not as many places sell them in Southern Maryland like they used to. And just, you know, not as many people stuff them. So you find your ham. If you have to order it, get it ordered early so that you have it. Also, you know, if you live in an area that the hams aren't available, I've never done it, but I've heard people have used like Morton's Tender Quick and just kind of brined their ham, you know, find a recipe online. And maybe they didn't use a ham, they're using more of a tenderloin. You know, not everybody needs a big 20-pound ham. You know, a tenderloin, or if you can find a fresh ham, you know, you would use that. So, you know, there are other options if you live in an area that you can't find a fresh ham, or these are actually corned hams, right? Like a corned beef, but a corned ham. You know, if you can't find your corned ham, you know, make one. Morton's Tender Quick. It won't be a couple, you know, week or two in the refrigerator. I'm not even sure. Probably a week. It'd be ready to go. And, you know, just do it like a tenderloin. All right. I think that's good on the bottom. You know, you can try to put a little bit more. Pushing these slits is just pushing into the cavity. So it's not like these slits aren't full. You know, I can just keep pushing into it and it's just gonna go right into the cavity. All right, so these are our two slits. I like to keep track of them, so I'm gonna just keep them the same when I flip it. Okay. Nice looking ham. So once again, you know, when I do it, I'll probably slice this side, right? And I like to mark my side. Like when I'm done, I'm gonna stick a toothpick in just so I know that's my side. So we're going to carve it this way. You know, I know I'm repeating, right? So we want to do our slits cross, right? And these are going to go right down kind of toward the cavity. And you know, get them all the way up to the front of your hand. You know, you don't want your first inch of ham not to be stuffed. You know, just don't cut through. And you know, you're not cutting all the way just to the cavity. You don't have to, don't take your knife to the cutting board. If you do, it'll be all right. Okay, so there's one row. Let me get one over here. I'm gonna try to get one in that side pocket there. All right, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make my slits. They're not gonna line up. I don't want a continuous line. Oh yeah, I think I should. Shove some in here on the sides at a little bit of an angle. Okay. Probably, I usually get about 3 rows on a 20-pound ham. There's my slit. So when I'm done, I'm gonna take all these juices and everything that's in here on my board, and that gets all dumped back into the pot. All that flavor. I think I got a little section here that I could use a slit in. There it goes. All right. I'm going to start out here on the end. And just keep piling it in. And this, as we push in, you're going to start seeing this ham like rising. And as your stuffing will start coming out the cracks. Hopefully this video is not too long. It probably will be though. Last year I had a family reunion and I made 2 hams for it, and I did a video of it. It turned out long, that's why I didn't really publish it. But the day of when I sliced it, I did a really good job of going through, you know, how to slice it, and I talked some about the history. So you may not see this actual ham, although I'll probably give you a shot of it at the very end. But you may have the video of me slicing one of the hams up for that family reunion last year. Exact same process, exact same recipe. I cooked it in my barn here. Everything was the same. And you may get that video. I did a pretty good job of going over some of the history of the hams and, you know, how, you know, how the stuffed ham came about in Charles County and St. Mary's, Southern Maryland. So I'll probably link that on. I think that, so I don't have to just try to recreate that video. It was a pretty good job of it. So if you see something that looks a little different, that's all. I do have a pretty jammed up work week. It's cold out in the barn this morning. It's 33 degrees. And don't be afraid to pick up all the greens off your cutting board. And you know, that's when you parboil, you get all the liquid. If I didn't parboil, I wouldn't have all that liquid running out. It would be so sloppy. But all that liquid's going right back into the pot. There's a big kind of like a seam over here. And I'm just packing that into, and that's getting it into the cavity as well. Push some up in this hole here. So when you cook a stuffed ham, does the ham season the greens or the greens season the ham? I always wondered that question. I think it's both. That's what marries these flavors together and make them so good. My grandmother is kind of where I learned from this. She made a wonderful ham. Her ham was delicious, and part of me cooking hams was just trying to duplicate her ham, you know. And I think I've gotten it. You know, it'd never be my grandmother's ham, but I think I've gotten it really close. Really close. I've cooked them for some family reunions, and I've had a lot of old time Jamesons tell me I have a really good ham that follows like the Jameson recipe that's been passed down. Some of them say they haven't tasted those type of hams since they were kids. Also put on, you know, just any excess greens, you don't throw it away. Pack it on top. Pack it on top. I still got a pound or so of greens. One thing I do different is I use what's called, would be watercress, I guess. Technically, we always called it watercress as a kid. That was what I knew it by, but I don't think it was what was true watercress because it didn't grow in the water. It grew on the edge of the tobacco field. I guess you'd probably call it field cress. You would pick it and you'd have to wash it like 3 or 4 times. It would be so dirty and sandy, and it was a mess to clean. It was a mess, but you had to get all that sand out. You don't want to eat a dirty, sandy ham. And I get watercress from a produce company, and you know, it doesn't have all that sand and stuff that we would spend hours trying to clean off the ham. So I think that could adjust for a little bit of the differences between my ham and my grandmother's ham. As far as the spice blend, it's pretty much the same. I'm gonna getting to the end of the bucket here. But you know, if you can't find watercress, don't want watercress, just do kale and cabbage. If you don't like kale, if you don't want the kale, do cabbage. I'd probably tell you not to do a cabbage ham. It's just missing when I taste a full cabbage ham. It's just missing. You know, it's just not. It's not complete. People do them, but I think you need at least 2 of the big greens. You know, do a 50-50 ham. It'd be great. So the further south, you got more cabbage hams. The further north you went, you know, they started adding kale and watercress to the mix. You know, and Charles County always had watercress. Okay, I'm out of stuffing. That's my ham. I don't know how many pounds. I think that's an 8-quart colander. It's about 1 inch from the top, which is, you know, it's not my first one. That's about what it takes for me to do it. So I'm going to stick, when I go to slice this, I'm going to start right there. So I'm going to stick that toothpick over there just to mark it. And we will go to town. All right, I'm going to clean up and I'll show you how I wrap this thing. All right, we're back. I cleaned up. This is my cheesecloth. I have 2 square yards, 1.67 meters squared. It says 100% cotton, lint free. Just cheesecloth, right? I bought it off Amazon. Nothing special. I opened it up, so you know you don't want it doubled up or anything like that. Want to try to keep track of the top of your ham, which is not hard. All the stuffing's on the top. So we're gonna take this, put it on here. Get all the stuffing off our cutting board. Get that packed in there. It smells so good. Okay. Just start bringing it up. We're going to tie it together. You see I got the baling. I use baling when I come off a hay bale. That's what we always used. There's the bottom one is on top. I'm going to give it a fold over. Now I'm back to the top. You keep track of your tops because as it gets covered up, you won't fully see it. Get some of the slime off of here. And pull this back. And tuck it. You know, if you don't have this, use a clean white pillowcase. Same thing. So that will hold your ham together. Let me get rid of this. reasons I like doing it in a barn is I can hose stuff out. So now let's take one of our ropes, scoot this over here. Lay our rope out, and we're going to get it, lay the second one kind of cross tie, right? Ugh. Okay. Together. Didn't center my rope too well. My rope ended up on this side, way over here. Alright. Where's the other end? He should be over here. So and I just kind of tie this stuff off. And my knots are on the bottom of my hand, right? Easy to keep track of. I'm going to put this in my basket with the top up. We're going to add about 1 inch of water, so I want to have enough water to last all day. So I'm only going to steam out. I got plenty of room. So this is a 20-pound ham. I've cooked 22-pound ham, really. I cooked it for 30 minutes. So now I need to cook it for, I cooked 2 pounds of it already, right? Out of the 20, so now I need to count for the other 20 pounds. So 15 minutes per pound, I need to cook 20 pounds. That will be 5 hours I need to let this cook. So I let that come back to a boil, and I will cook this for 5 hours. So right now, looking at my phone, it is 8:47. I'm going to calculate my time that it's going to take this probably at least 13 minutes to come up to a boil with that big ham in there. So I will start my timer at 9 o'clock and add 5 hours. So that will take me right up to 2 o'clock, and it should be done. Sometimes I'll unplug them. Not unplug, but turn the power off and just let it sit in the pot for another hour or so. And then at that point, we'll cool it down. I'll show you how I cool them down. You need to make sure you get them cooled down real good so that you don't get people sick. It's very important to get your ham cooled down. But that's how to stuff a ham. We'll pick it up later. Thank you. All right, it's 3 o'clock. I have finished boiling the ham for 5 hours. I let it sit in the pot for about an extra, I don't know, probably an hour, maybe not quite. Just to cool off a little bit. I will pull it out, let it drain for 5 minutes or so inside the basket. Then I will get it, I'll put it in my big colander in the bowl here, and I'll just put 10 pounds of ice over it and just let it cool down. Get some water in it, give it a good ice bath, get it as chilled down as possible. You really want to get your hams cooled down fast. You don't want anybody getting sick off of your hams. Another way I've done this is put it in an old cooler. I pulled the drain spout on the cooler, dropped the ham in a cooler, filled it up with cold water from like the garden hose, let the garden hose run in. So the cold water comes in the top, the hot water will drain out through the spout in the bottom, and then just let that go for 10-15 minutes. And when the water's coming out your spout is cool, you know your ham is cold on the inside. And I'll speed it up with a bag of ice too. So that's another way to do it. Today I'm being lazy, so I don't have to clean the cooler. I'm just gonna do it in that colander, get it cooled down, and then I'll store the ham in this colander. It'll sit kind of high in it. Put it right in that, and I'll stick it in the refrigerator for a couple days. You definitely give your ham time to sit in the refrigerator. That's when it's all going to come together with that great taste that you're trying to get. Other than that, enjoy your ham. I will tag a different video probably of the slicing of it, and maybe I'll wrap it up when I get it all cut, and I'll show you my final product. But if you get to this far, anybody can get the ham sliced. That's the easy part. Enjoy your ham. Good morning. Today's Wednesday. It's about 7 o'clock. 52 degrees in the barn. A little warmer than it has been last couple days. I've cut one ham, and now we're getting ready to work on the second ham. They're all unwrapped, ready to go. So, day 3 here. First day was we cut all the vegetables. Second day we stuffed and cooked. And today is the fun day. It's the end of the work. It's a carve it up day. So if you think about how we did it, we laid out our slots this way, and then we're gonna carve it this way so we get a nice cross cut. You can see, one of our slots here. You can see how it's running. It's running this way. So we're gonna carve this way. And our bone cavity's right there. It's almost falling apart. Some of the stuffing that came out stuck to off the top that was stuck to the cheesecloth. We'll mix that in as we go. When I cut mine, I like thin. I like my hams thin. I don't like them huge chunks of stuffed ham. I think thin goes on your plate better. I think for leftovers like stuffed ham sandwiches, it's better. There's lots of other things that people are doing with leftovers. I see some of the restaurants, maybe not restaurants, more like the gas station style delis, local mom and pop markets. They're doing stuffed ham egg rolls, stuffed ham breakfast burritos. So lots of ways to do this with your leftovers. I encourage you to get out there and make your ham. It is a little bit of work, but once you get it, the rewards are there. If you've stuck with me through this far into the video, I would imagine your learning curve has greatly shrunk on how to make a ham. A Southern Maryland stuffed ham. I've been doing these hams for quite a while, since my grandmother passed and we didn't have anybody to make us hams anymore. I took it on for the family. And it's been a reward. I've had some learning curves. Some of my early hams weren't as great as they could have been because I had a lot to learn. We watched our grandmother do it, but her recipe died with her. She didn't have a written down recipe. She just had a process of how to do it, and that's what she did every year. She didn't measure anything. She just dumped it in a pot. And that's the way I started. And when I finally
got the recipe to what I thought, I worked on getting the ingredients to paper and measure it out. And you know, the last probably 5-6 years, this is the recipe that I've been using. You know, I do a mixture of 3 of your key vegetables, you know, your greens, cabbage, watercress, kale. But you don't have to do 3. You can do any combination. You need at least 2, in my opinion. You need more than just the cabbage. You know, cabbage and kale make a wonderful ham. If I look back, I might have been a head short on cabbage when I look back on the video. So yeah, I might have needed a little bit more cabbage. More cabbage gives you a little bit more, some extra color than the darker green that you're going to pick up from the kale and the watercress. You know, cabbage will make it a little lighter. Along with your onions and celery, that gives it some lighter. But, you know, I grew up on a Charles County ham, and Charles County hams were kale and watercress. And that's just, that's my preference. But if you're further south in the counties, feel free to make it the way you choose. The key is, if you're making a 20-pound ham, is you got to come up with, you know, 50% of the weight of that ham should be in your greens. So, you know, just adjust the weight of your greens accordingly, and it'll come out fine. You know, you keep the same spice blend. We went over that a couple times. So I've prepared a ham for a special guest in our family. That's one of the reasons I'm making 2 hams in our extended family. So part of this will be going to Monsignor Jameson, that for his Thanksgiving dinner with his family and his sisters. So that was a special to be, I felt really special to be asked to cook this. So it was really cool to be able to cook Thanksgiving ham for Monsignor. Hopefully he'll say it tastes like his mother's, because you know, us Jamesons, we all kind of made it the same way. So hopefully it comes out well for him. And if not, he'll like it, I'm sure. All right, this looks really good. I mean, you know, look at these. These are our slits, right? I mean, that is a picture perfect stuffed ham. You know, look at the slits. You know, your cavity. I mean, I'm gonna have to pause here and get my phone out and take a picture, because that right there, that's what it should look like when you carve it. That's what it should look like. So sorry for. Let's get in here real quick. Okay. Yeah, get one, hold my phone up this way. Nah, it doesn't look good. All right, let me get another glove on. Maybe I'll get a sip of coffee as we start. That's picture perfect. I mean, that's what a ham should look like. That's a properly stuffed ham. I mean, yeah, I always like when you get into the center, the long pieces. You know, that is exactly what you're looking for. If it doesn't come out like that perfect the first time, don't sweat it. It's still going to taste good. It's Oma. This is just a really nice ham. That one ham, it was a little cut up the one I did first. It was, I think it might have been the butcher's first time to bone in that ham. It was a little bit chopped up. This one. Yeah, it just looks wonderful. pry a piece out of the center. This looks, get a piece, get some stuffing on there. Man, is that good. Wish you could taste through the camera. They could ever package that up, or some of the smells from this video. You know, I wish I could record those smells for you. I went hunting for a little bit after I cooked the hams on, this was Tuesday, Monday. And, you know, I just hunt right behind the house. So I'm not more than 50, 60 yards on the back because I didn't have a lot of time to go anywhere far. And I could smell stuffed ham all through the woods. I could just smell the aromas. I didn't get a deer, as you can imagine, with all that smell going through there. Extra stuff in there. Mix some of it in as we go. You're gonna want to pull this off, cut that separate. Not certain all this is gonna fit in that pan, but I got my Thanksgiving dinner dish over there, so I can plate that up as well if it doesn't fit. Can't see what I'm doing with all this stuff in the way. Wow, that's a mountain of ham. Where'd that come from? All right, let's keep going. Okay, I mean, just another picture perfect ham right here. Yeah, that's why it's important when I say when you carve, make sure you get all the way up to the edges so you're not missing an inch or two of ham. You know, your lines would be way down here when you go to carve it. You know, make sure you, when you stuff, get those slits all the way up to the edges of your ham. You know, that's just some mistakes I've made over the years that I've learned to overcome. I'm ready to get me another piece of that. I go inside. I'm going to make me a nice stuffed ham and egg sandwich. Maybe a little, some nice cheese on it. Maybe on a bagel or something. This is how the poor people eat. Good food here. All right. You know, I would definitely encourage you to get out there. Don't be scared of this process. I broke it down. I don't think it could be any easier than what's laid out if you watch this video. It's not that hard. If you're not afraid of a little of the hard work, cooking the ham is not that hard. You know, it is work. But the actual cooking it to make it turn out good, you follow this recipe. Yeah. 15 pound, cook it 15 minutes per pound. You know, when I say 15 minutes per pound, I'm talking the weight of the ham. Not the weight of the ham plus the dressing. That'd be too much. Just the weight of the ham. The dressing's pretty much cooked from when you parboil it, or not really parboil, but when you blanch it. Oh, look at that. That's a mountain of stuffed ham. I'm gonna have to get a weight on that when I take it inside. I'm gonna have to stand on the bathroom scale holding it. My hands are starting to hurt a little bit cutting all these hams. It will definitely has worked out my hands, all this cutting the last couple of days. I think I'm gonna move some of this to this place because I don't think it's gonna fit in there anymore. That white platter is kind of my signature Thanksgiving dish that I put all my, I've used it from my first ham, that platter. So people are used to seeing that platter on my table. So, you know, I guess something else, if someone's maybe never had stuffed ham is served cold. It's not warmed up, right? You don't take this inside and try to warm it up before your dinner. I mean, I don't even know if I need to tell you guys watching this that, but there may be somebody watching who's never had stuffed ham and this is completely foreign to them. You know, they're not from Southern Maryland, so, you know, this dish is served cold. You know, I pull it out of the refrigerator an hour or so before we eat and put it on the table. These slices are getting a little too thick for me, but I'll put them on here. I know some people like thicker slices. Try to thin them out. But yeah, you definitely, it's served cold. And I have taken some of my leftovers and I have made like a bean soup out of it. But like a navy bean soup, stuffed ham, navy bean soup. You know, just drop this, you know, right at the end after you soak your beans and cook your ham, not cook your ham, but get your broth and everything cooked. At the very end, just drop, you know, a couple handfuls of the stuffing and everything right into your soup. And that's another good way for the leftovers. Very good. take some of this shredded and fill it over here and put some of these long slices. Blend it in from the front ham. All right, well, at this point, I would like to thank you guys who are still here, who's managed to make it to the end of the video, for watching. I'm not certain how long this is going to be, but I imagine it's over an hour and 20 minutes or so. Get out there and make you a ham. Don't be shy, don't be nervous. Follow these steps. You know, it doesn't matter if you know, whichever vegetables you put, whether you skip the watercress because you just can't find it, or just come up and keep the weight ratio the same. Get at least 2 of the 3 greens plus your celery and onions, and you're gonna have a wonderful ham. So I thank you for watching to the end of it. Leave me a note in the comments. As I said, this isn't my first YouTube video, probably my last one. So you don't have to like and subscribe, as they say. I'm not a big content person for putting out there. I don't know much about it. But I wanted a how-to on how to stuff a ham. That was missing, and I look forward to just putting this video together. I've had fun making it, I think. Add a little time to the process, but I wanted to be able to have something to hand down to my kids, so it doesn't get lost with me. I want them to know how to do this as well. So with that, thanks for watching, and get out there and make yourself a ham.